It's Tuesday, so it's time for another top 10 video. I'm grabbing the third runner-up from my previous poll from my patrons, which was the top 10 uncommon magic items. So I thought it would be an interesting change from last week where I gave you my top 10 worst magic items, and you had a lot of comments about what you thought about that video. But then I said, let's do top 10 uncommon magic items to go more on the positive side. So if you want to see what's going on with that, stay tuned. Something new in the background? How uncommon. What's going on, folks? Ted from Nerd Immersion here, and let's just get the rules and a few things out of the way up front. First of all, it's as far as rules go, it has to be an uncommon magic item. I think that goes without saying, but that means it has to be an officially published magic item or from Wizards of the Coast. By that I mean not just in the Dungeon Master's Guide, but it can also be contained in the various campaign books as well as in the printed PDFs that they have, or the official PDFs like Lost Laboratory Qualish, the Twirtle package, and so on. So those are the rules behind that. It is my top 10 list. I'll stress this again. Therefore, it may not be the best uncommon magic items, but they're my top 10. And I'll explain why I think that they're the best in, as we go through the video. Also, I have a giveaway going on right now to win a limited edition cover of Mythic Odysseys of Theros. This is going on right now. It goes till mid-September. There's a link in the description if you want to go check that out to see if you want to enter to win. All right, on to number 10. Number 10. Adamantine Armor. This is holds a personal bias to me, but I also give you some reasons why I like it. So first of all, again, uncommon, found in the basic rules, but it is also non-attunement, and it will make armor go from non-magical to magical. Certain abilities, certain enemies can do things to non-magical armor, so this will help you there. But basically all it does is it takes a critical hit and turns it into a regular hit. So if I hit you with a great sword and I crit, it would normally do 2d6, and when I crit, it doubles the dice to 4d6. And with Adamantine Armor, if I hit you with it, it is now a regular hit, still doing only 2d6 damage. It automatically hits because it's a critical. It just removes the doubled dice. Now, that's not a big deal on a standard hit, but if you're getting into enemies that possibly have PC levels, like an enemy with, let's say, Paladin Smite abilities, or an enemy with Rogue Sneak Attack abilities, and they can roll a bunch of dice, a critical hit will deal a ton of damage to them. As well as if you flip it the other way, and if you are dealing damage to an enemy, and the enemy has Adamantine Armor, then the DM can throw Adamantine Armor on them to reduce the overall damage that they would take, make it a little bit easier to survive. Aside from that, this is one of the first magic items I had in my first 5th edition campaign, so I have a little bias towards it as well. And again, I don't really find a scenario where if I have an option for Adamantine Armor and I can get it, I'm not going to say no to it, because just that extra survivability, and there's other combos and things you can do with it. But overall, I don't know. I just really like it. Number 9. So the Gauntlets of Ogre power right here, they're uncommon. They do require attunement. And as long as your strength is under 19, it makes your strength equal to 19. So this is a great way to get around possibly poor ability score rolls. Maybe you're doing point buy and you're trying to get a little bit of a higher stat, or maybe you're not prioritizing strength as you're a dex-based character or something else, and you happen upon these and you might attune to them while you're waiting on other slots, so now you can have a high dex and a high strength. Again, the Headband of Intellect does the exact same thing, but sets your intelligence to 19. And that, I feel like, again, I've stated it before, I feel intelligence, unless you're a wizard or one of the few classes that use it, intelligence is often a dump stat. So being able to bump your intelligence to a 19 is kind of a nice little benefit and can help you out a lot in the long run. My only downside with this magic item is, why do they only pick strength and intelligence to get these items? Why can't we have something that does the same thing for dexterity, constitution, charisma, wisdom? I don't see why they just stuck with so few options for this. In previous editions, it was super common to have the same kind of items that would do these things. So I don't know why. And I mean, that's super easy to homebrew, right? Gloves of Dexterity, set your dexterity to 19. Cloak of Charisma, set your charisma to 19. Super easy to homebrew. I just don't know why those items don't already exist. Number 8. Pearl of Power. So this one does require attunement by a spellcaster because of what it does, but while it's on your person, you can use an action to speak its command word and regain 1 expended spell slot. If it's a 4th level or higher, the new slot is 3rd level. Once you use this pearl, it can be used again, and it can't be used again until the next dawn. So some benefits for this. Obviously, there's the most basic. I'm a spellcaster. I cast a spell. I use the pearl. I get that spell slot back. That's good. If you're a warlock, this can be a lifesaver given the fact that you have so limited spell slots. But this can also be something really nice for someone like a paladin, because it's in theory 1 extra smite, because I can go ahead and smite with a 3rd level spell and then use the pearl to get the slot back. Something else I didn't really think about until I just read it now is you get an expended spell slot back. If the expended slot was a 4th level or higher, the new slot is 3rd level. So in theory, if I cast a 5th level spell and I have a Pearl of Power, cast my 5th level spell, I can get a new slot from Pearl of Power and get another 3rd level slot. So in theory, I could have my full level of my full slots of 3rd level spells and essentially get an extra 3rd level slot by using the Pearl of Power. Again, it's not super crazy powerful, but it's something that I feel like you can give out to, a party early on, and no one's going to be upset that they have this, especially if you have spellcasters. Obviously, if you don't have spellcasters in the party, this serves no purpose. But just being able to quick get that slot back as an action, especially if they're not someone like a warlock who can get them back on a short rest, and they've got to go through the whole day, a Pearl of Power can go a long way to add survivability and give more options to those characters as the day wears on and they've gone through more encounters. Number 7. Gloves of Thievery. I put these on here because they are one of the few magic items out there that does the very, very rare +5, a static number bonus. Normally, you only have things that will give you advantage or certain things like that, or like we talked about, the set your ability score to a certain thing. The Gloves of Thievery give you a flat +5 to dexterity sleight of hand checks and dexterity checks made to pick locks. So that means that you don't even, and they're non-attunement, by the way. And once you put them on, they turn invisible, so no one knows that you have them. So what I really, really like about these is the fact that it is a static +5. So I could be someone that doesn't really have proficiency in sleight of hand checks or doesn't know how to pick locks, but I can wear these gloves, get a flat +5 to those, and then I might be in a pretty good spot. Alternatively, go the other way, and let's say you're a rogue or someone with expertise in sleight of hand or expertise in thieves' tools. This will make you that much even better at it by giving you a +5 on top of that. So this doesn't have any of that, like, oh, I have expertise, it's double my proficiency bonus. It's all of the double proficiency bonus and your modifier, and then this is on top of that. So you can hit truly, truly ungodly numbers, especially, again, as a rogue with something like Peerless Talent. Number 6. Sentinel Shield. This is another one of those items that I like to give out to a party early on. It's an uncommon magic item. This one's the Dungeon Master's Guide, not the basic rules. But while you have it, or while you're holding it rather, you have advantage on initiative rolls and perception checks. And then it's a basic shield. So it does all the benefits of a shield, giving you a +2 to AC. It's magic, so it'll resist things that don't affect magical armor and shields. Advantage on initiative rolls and perception checks. Well, you're never going to be upset to have advantage on initiative rolls. Everybody hates rolling that 1 on initiative, and then this might help resolve that. But advantage on perception checks, it's all perception checks. It's not just perception checks that rely on sight, not just perception checks that rely on hearing. It's all perception checks. And if you have a consistent advantage on perception checks, advantage constantly on a check gives you a +5 to the passive bonus. So if you have a Sentinel Shield giving you constant advantage on perception checks, your passive perception will also go up by 5. Number 5. Stone of Good Luck. I think this one's pretty self-explanatory. Uncommon requires attunement, and it gives you a +1 to ability checks and saving throws. So that's going to give you, again, all of your skills. But, a Thieves' Tools check is an ability check. Also, Initiative is an ability check, so it'll give you a +1 to your initiative as well. also a +1 to all of your saving throws. This, again, a really nice item to give out to, especially if you have a player who can get overwhelmed with options. Like if you give them a magic item that lets them cast spells or do something else, that might be a lot and might overload what they can do on a turn. A Stone of Good Luck is one of the items that I consider to be one of those really good static items. It's kind of, you get it, you apply the bonuses when you get it, and then you just sort of forget about it. It's there in the background doing what it needs to do, and you don't really need to worry about it. You don't need to add or apply things as long as you make sure you're adding that +1 every time. Again, if you are using something like D&D Beyond, those benefits will be automatically applied to you, so you don't even have to worry about it, or you worry about it even less. Number 4. Cloak of Protection. Uncommon, requires attunement, and this, very similar to the Stone of Good Luck, is going to give you a +1 to saving throws, but instead of giving you a +1 to all of your ability checks, it's going to give you a +1 to AC. This is, yet again, like I said, one of those ones you can just give to a player, leave them alone, they can set it and forget it. It's going to be, again, if you had both of those items, you'd have a +1 to AC, +1 to all ability checks, and a +2 to all of your saving throws. I also like to take the time, if I'm going to give people a Cloak of Protection, and make it fancy. Like that's just like give it a different description. Don't make it look just like this standard one. You could, but maybe you make it look, maybe it's more unique, maybe it's a cloak and it looks a little bit different, maybe it's more of a cape than a cloak. You know, you can have fun with the design of it and the material that it's made out of, but it still fundamentally does the same thing. Number 3. Wand of Magic Missile. This, along with a lot of the other ones that I've been talking about, are ones that I often give out to an early level party. I feel like giving out a Wand of Magic Missile is something that I think a lot of the pre-written adventures do relatively early on, and I like to do as well. It's a nice little boost of magical ability, whether it's to improve a caster to give them more options, or to give the fighter some range options that they wouldn't normally have, or some magical options. And basically, I mean, it'll let you cast Magic Missile. It has 7 charges. You can expend 1 charge to cast a base level Magic Missile, shooting 3 magical darts. For each charge above the first one, it increases the level of the Magic Missile, therefore adding more additional magical bolts that you're doing. And again, each charge goes up by 1. It regains 1d6 plus 1 charges back at dawn. If you expend the last charge, you roll a d20. If you roll a 1 on that d20, the wand crumbles into ashes and is destroyed. So as long as you only expend 6 of the 7 charges daily, you'll never have any issues with potentially losing it. You could, again, upcast it out of a higher level slot with the wand, and then just do a whole bunch of damage, or just do a bunch of first level magic missiles, dealing 3, shooting out 3 darts. You're never going to be upset to have Magic Missile, because it's either going to be like, I really need to hit this guy, they're almost dead, let's get him, they're within 120 feet, this auto hits and does the damage, or I'm going to hit this guy and then they're going to use shield to block it, and then I just blew one of their spell slots doing that. Again, something that it's not too overpowering to give to a party early on. You might even let the party start with a Wand of Magic Missiles, and the fact that it's non-attunement is you can swap it between different characters, and anybody can use it whenever they need to. Number 2. Well, it's me, and if you recall any of my top 10 magic items for the different classes, you would know that Winged Boots has to be on this list. It is uncommon, it does require attunement, but it's going to give you access to pretty much concentrationless flight for a significant amount of time. You have a flying speed equal to your walking speed. Obviously, if you're a race or a class that gets benefits to your walking speed, this will be even better because your fly speed will be higher. You can use the boots to fly for up to 4 hours total. You can do this all in once or break it up into little bursts to a minimum of 1 minute. If you're flying when the duration expires, you descend at a rate of 30 feet until you land, and then you regain 2 hours of flying capability for every 12 hours they aren't in use. So things to consider: you have an automatic kind of built-in feather fall, so you'll never fall and die if you run out of fly speed. You have 4 hours of total fly speed. That will almost never be an issue, especially if you're like only flying in combat or to do like short little trips. I guess if you're trying to like gun it over land for 4 hours, then you'll have an issue with this. But in my experience, most people that have winged boots, they never run out of the fly speed because they're using them in combat to get up out of an area, to be able to get advantage, to fly a rope up to a point, to tie it off, to allow other people to climb up, all sorts of things like that. And then it's 2 hours gained back for every 12 hours that they aren't in use. So after a full 24-hour rest, you'd have all of it back, assuming you used every bit of it. But the fact that you can use it in 1 minute bursts means 1 minute's pretty much going to cover most combats. Again, fantastic magic item. I don't typically give out winged boots super early on, but they're not a bad thing to have. And I do typically tell my players in most scenarios, like if they were to start not at first level, you're going to start with an uncommon magic item. And if they picked winged boots, well, I did that to myself. Number 1. The Bag of Holding. It's a tried and true item for as long as I can remember playing Dungeons and Dragons. And it's a quintessential, like, staple item for a party to have, and something that no one will be upset about. So if you don't know what this is, one, what do you do to play in D&D? Bag of Holdings are super common. They're an extra dimensional space, a bag that constantly weighs, I think, 15 pounds. Regardless, this one particularly looks like a messenger bag, but 15 pounds regardless of what's in it, and it can hold inside, the outside dimensions are roughly 2 feet in diameter at the mouth and 4 feet deep. It can hold up a total of 500 pounds and a volume not exceeding 64 cubic feet. So you've seen it in pop culture and things where people pull stuff that's way too big out of a small bag or a small space. That's what this is. You can put a ton of stuff in here. You can have a ton of storage space. It can free up a lot of the inventory management as well, or you give the bag of holding to one person and they're in charge of the inventory. And then again, you can just turn it upside down and dump it out. If you want to get everything out of it, spill everything forth from it. You can actually put people inside it. Breathing creatures inside the bag can survive for a number of minutes equal to 10 divided by the number of creatures inside, minimum of a minute. So if you need to sneak somebody in, you can sneak them inside in your bag of holding. Or if you're, say, a necromancer who summons undead and they don't need to breathe, a whole bunch of them can go into the bag of holding and then they can come out. And then there's the Nova move when you're worried about it. If you put a bag of holding inside another extra dimensional space like a handy haversack or portable hole or another bag of holding, they both are instantly destroyed, and it tears a gate to the astral plane. It originates where the first item is, and any creature within 10 feet of the gate is sucked to a random location on the astral plane. The gate then closes. It's a one-way and can't be reopened. There's a lot of, I'm sure you've seen it, where people are trying to make an arrow with a portable hole in a bag of holding, so when they shoot it, they impact and make a tear to the astral space or astral plane. It also does not give you a saving throw to succeed. If you are within 10 feet when this goes off, you are sucked into the astral plane, regardless of size. You could use this to suck a dragon into the astral plane, to suck a Tarask, or just an enemy, or as we're gonna all die, let's go to the astral plane and figure it out from there. And then if you have access to things like plane shift or other ways, you can get yourself back home. But it's a staple item of any D&D campaign. That's why I had to make it number 1. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What is your number 1 uncommon magic item? Was it on my list? Is it something separate? Something that I missed? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I'm genuinely curious to hear what you have to say. I said it at the beginning, but I'll say it again. I have a giveaway going on to win a limited edition copy of Mythic Odysseys of Theros. I will put a link to that in the description, as well as I'll pin a comment so you can just go ahead and get quick access to that as well. Thank you to my patrons on Patreon for continuing to support the channel and voting for fun polls to see what we do with top 10 videos every week. And I will see you all next time.